Augusta is the Ether of Septimon, and without a doubt one of the strongest resonators in the game. So let's find out how to build and play Augusta. Augusta is a heavy attack focused electro broadplate resonator, which will need these materials to level up. Augusta has quite a few effects and enhanced skills, but don't worry since I will break it down for you. First, we have her Crown of Wheels. This can stack up to 1 time and increases her electro damage by 15% per stack, which she can only get by her outro skill. More on this effect at her outro skill explanation. Now we have her Forte bar, or rather her 3 Forte bars. The first one is her Prowess bar. You can completely fill this bar by either using her intro skill, which fully restores the bar, or her basic attacks, certain heavy attacks and your resonance skill. Once her Prowess bar is full, you can use her heavy attack to cast heavy attack backstab, followed up by a basic attack to cast heavy attack spin slash. These attacks deal a good amount of damage and will let you set up for the next part of her kit. The second bar is going to be Ascendancy. You can fill this bar up with either her normal attacks or resonance skill to slowly charge it, or you can cast your intro skill to charge 20% of the bar, or you can use your Liberation Sword of the Eternal Oath to restore 10% of the bar. So, in order to completely fill this bar, you will need to use your heavy attack backstab, heavy attack spin slash into a standard resonance skill, which will deal a good amount of damage, after which you will want to cast your Resonance Liberation Sword of the Eternal Oath. Although this liberation doesn't have an animation, it will still deal a big amount of damage and it will set you up for her big damage mode. So, once you filled up your Ascendancy bar, you want to use your enhanced resonance skills. First will be the Undying Sunlight Strike, which will deal a good amount of electro damage. The second will be Undying Sunlight Leap, which will also deal a good amount of electro damage. And the last one will be Undying Sunlight Plunge, which will deal a massive amount of electro damage, which counts as heavy attack damage. And this last attack will also consume all her Ascendancy. And finally, the last bar is going to be Majesty. Augusta can stack her Majesty up to 2 times. The first way is by using her skill, Undying Sunlight Plunge. The second way is by a teammate casting an outro skill whilst under the effect of her outro skill. And the final way is by the effect of her inherent skill. This will allow Augusta to gain 1 stack of Majesty when she has been off the field for 4 seconds, while she has no Majesty stacks. So, after doing the entire combo, which I will show later in the video, you should be able to cast her Enhanced Resonance Liberation by holding your Liberation button to cast Sublime is the Sun. Once you cast this, 2 things will happen. First, Augusta will generate a Ruler's Realm for 30 seconds. This realm will allow teammates to gain a small shield equal to the amount of Augusta's health every time an intro skill is cast. And the second effect will be the Sworn Allegiance state, which lasts for 7 seconds. In the state, a couple different effects trigger. First, time is completely stopped, so any teammates on the field will be frozen in time, and even the timer is completely frozen. Second, you can't swap to a teammate anymore, it's only Augusta. And third, Augusta can only use her dodge to quickly displace herself, her Sunborn attack, and her Everbright Protector attack. In this state, Augusta can quickly press or hold her basic attack button to cast Sunborn attacks in quick succession. And after slashing 9 times, you can press her basic attack button, or when the time runs out, you will cast Everbright Protector. This attack will deal a large amount of damage in a wide AoE, and both Sunborn and Everbright Protector deal heavy attack damage. Next up, we have her outro skill, which you should be able to cast after her Everbright Protector attack. Augusta's outro skill doesn't deal any damage, instead, she will grant an effect to the incoming resonator for 14 seconds, which cancels if the resonator swaps out early. This effect will amplify all the damage of the incoming resonator by 15%, whilst also granting a point of Majesty and a Crown of Wheels after the incoming resonator uses an outro skill. And finally, we have her inherent skills. The first will grant Augusta a small shield whenever she deals damage. The shield lasts for 5 seconds, can be triggered every 0.5 seconds, and the shield is not stackable. And the second effect will grant Augusta 2 effects if she has been out of combat for more than 4 seconds. First, she will gain 1 stack of majesty if she has less than 1 stack. And second, she will fully recover her crown of wills. Okay, that was a lot of information. So to quickly recap on the rotation, you want to use your intro skill, after which you want to use your heavy attack into a basic attack, into a resonance skill, follow up by pressing your resonance liberation, after which you can follow it up by again using your heavy attack into a basic attack, after which you can use your enhanced resonance skill 3 times. You can follow this up by a resonance liberation hold, and now that you're in your enhanced state, you can quickly press the basic attack button so Augusta uses her Sunborn attack 9 times and her Everbright Protector once. And finally, after this, you can safely swap out to the next resonator. Now for her leveling recommendations, I recommend leveling her Resonance Liberation and Forte Circuit followed by her basic attacks first. These 3 all have significant damage scalings which Augusta will use in every rotation. After this, you can level her Resonance skill, since she will use this every rotation, and even though it is only a single scaling, it deals a good amount of damage. And finally, if you want, you can level her intro skill for a small amount of damage increase. The first option will be none other than the Thunder Flare Dominion, Augusta's signature weapon. With 675 base attack and 12.2% crit rate, this will be the highest base attack weapon in the game. And for the passive, besides granting 12% attack, after casting an intro skill or liberation, Augusta will gain 20% heavy attack damage for 15 seconds. And the second effect will grant Augusta 7.2% heavy attack defense ignore every time she gains a shield, with a maximum of 5 stacks, making it a total of 36% heavy attack defense ignore. This weapon is obviously the best weapon for Augusta, although her second option isn't too far behind, and it is none other than Jiyan's signature weapon, the Verdant Summit. With 587 base attack and 48.6% crit damage, this weapon does crit damage instead of crit rate, although it shouldn't matter too much in your build. And besides granting 12% attribute damage, which is, in my opinion, slightly better than attack percent, it will increase Augusta's heavy attack damage by 24% for 14 seconds each time she casts a intro skill or liberation, which stacks up to 2 times. Another option below will be Jinchi's signature weapon, the Aegis of Harvest. This weapon is great, although it does give skill damage bonus. Augusta won't benefit from this much since she doesn't deal a lot of skill damage. However, it is a good stat stake option. The next 2 options will actually be 4-star options, and they are none other than the Battle Pass weapons. Their difference is really small, with the Aureate Zenith being only 3 to 6% better, so pick whichever one you need. If you need more crit damage, pick the new Battle Pass weapon, the Aureate Zenith. And if you need more crit rate, you can pick the Autumn Trace. They both have 412 attack, with the Aureate Zenith granting 40.4% crit damage and the Autumn Trace granting 20.2% crit rate. And finally, if you have none of these options, the Lustrous Razor will work fine, being pretty much the exact same as the Autumn Trace in terms of damage. But do remember, the Lustrous Razor does not have any crit stats, so building will be slightly harder. Augusta, being a new resonator, will want the newly released Echo set, the Crown of Valor. This set will grant the active resonator 6% attack and 4% crit damage for 4 seconds every time they gain a shield. This can be stacked up to 5 times for a total of 30% attack and 20% crit damage. As for your active echo, you want to run the False Sovereign, which grants 12% electro damage and 12% heavy attack damage bonus by having it equipped. However, it is only a 3-piece set, so you'll want to get a 2-piece effect from the Void, Thunder or Lingering Tune set. However, it is likely that you'll have a better 2-piece set from the Void Thunder set. For the main stats, you want to run the standard 4-3-3-1-1, with crit rate or crit damage on the 4 cost, preferably at least 65% crit rate, electro damage on the 3 cost and attack percent on the 1 cost. For the substats, you want to focus on crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, heavy attack damage bonus, energy recharge, preferably at least 20%, and some flat attack wouldn't hurt. Augusta, whilst not necessarily being locked into teammates, does have a big preference. First up, we have none other than Yuno, the Moon Priestess herself. Yuno can grant 50% heavy attack damage with her auto skill and a total of 40% damage amp, if you can shield 10 times in a short amount of time, which Augusta can, since she has her inherent skill that grants her a shield every 0.5 seconds when she deals damage. And since Yuno can use the Moonlit Cloud set, she'll be able to buff Augusta even more. Another buff to consider if you want to vertically invest into an Augusta team is Yuno's S2, which increases the damage amp from 40 to 80%, making her a far better choice than any other teammate in the game. After Yuno, Fullova will be another great option for Augusta. Fullova has really good personal damage, decently fast field time, and she buffs heavy attack and Havoc damage with her auto skill. And even though Havoc is pretty useless for Augusta, the heavy attack damage is still very nice for her. Next up, we have the free-to-play counterpart of Yuno, which will be none other than Mortefi. Mortefi will be about 15 to 25% worse than Yuno, however he will still get the job done. And finally, we have Yinlin, which is the worst option here. Yinlin desperately needs a buff. She has low damage, a bad way to apply consistent coordinated attacks, and she has a couple other things. However, this is not a Yinlin slander video, so we'll keep it short. If you don't have Mortefi, Fullova or Yuno, and you somehow have Yinlin, you can use her since she still increases electro damage by a bit. As for the support, you can either run Shorekeeper, Furina or Baiji, depending on who you have available. Augusta's sequences are all pretty good. Sequence 1 will increase the amount of Crown of Wheel stacks she can have to 2, whilst also increasing her crit damage by 15% per stack. And when Augusta casts her intro skill, she will now gain a Crown of Wheels stack. But that is not all, since all of her enhanced resonance skills, that being Strike, Leap and Plunge, will now be immune to interruption. Sequence 2 will increase the power of her Crown of Wheels again. This time it will grant 20% crit rate per stack, whilst also granting a second effect. For every 1% crit rate over 100%, you'll gain 2% crit damage, stacking up to 100 crit damage. Sequence 3 will increase the damage multiplier of her Backstab, Spin Slash, Uppercut, Plunge, Sunborn and Everbright Protector attacks by 25%. Sequence 4 will increase the attack of all resonators in the team by 20% for 30 seconds after Augusta casts her intro skill. Sequence 5 will increase her shields by 50%. And Sequence 6 will increase the maximum amount of Crown of Wheel stacks to 4, whilst also gaining 2% crit damage for every 1% crit rate over 150%, up to 50% crit damage. And now Spin Slash and Uppercut also grant 1 Crown of Wheel stack. And for the actual last effect, whilst casting her Spin Slash or Uppercut, she will deal 2 instances of Electro heavy attack damage worth 100% of Augusta's attack. I quickly wanted to say that I have memberships now, and I want to thank my first member of the channel for becoming a member. Augusta is a really strong DPS with a lot of good sequence nodes, and she will likely be a top tier DPS for a good while, even if you don't have any sequences. Since she is easy to build, she has some free to play options and her gameplay is not too hard. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and maybe check out the video on the screen right now. I appreciate you all. Bye bye.